Oh my god, the wave of emotions that I went through during the Fantasia Elf Island arc was so much. And we started off on a little bit of a weird note. I didn't fully love all of the ghost ship and like sea beast kind of stuff. I do love things set out at sea. I love piratey kind of feeling things. But that pirate who kept coming back was honestly so annoying by the end of it. I was just like, "Ugh, come on." I love the vibes of the whole thing though. You know, the ghost ship stuff was very beautifully illustrated. It kept up with that gothic and atmospheric feeling that we do get throughout the series. And I do love stuff like that, but I wasn't taken by the whole thing. Mind you, there was an incredible moment with Guts in the Berserker armor. Like one of my favorite panels, I think, of all time within the series. It looks so fucking incredible. And I ended up liking Isma, who we meet on the island that they end up kind of getting a little bit marooned on as they have to repair the ship. And we learn about Meros, which I think are like mermaids. And I find that so incredible too. We're opening up the world a bit more with the folklore kind of creatures. Like we had the trolls and the ogres, kelpies, Meros. It just all fits so beautifully together. But I wasn't exactly fully taken by Isma's kind of whole story with like her mum, waiting for her mum, kind of being bullied by the other people on this island. At least not in the same way as like during the Lost Children arc when we did meet some new characters. I did feel more attached to the new characters we met during that arc than I did in this one. And you know what, Isma is absolutely fine. She seems to be like a pretty fun kind of character. Oh god, until like the end. Until the end bit there, oh my gosh. But I guess in a way as well, I kind of don't want more comedic light characters to be introduced at this moment in time. As much as I do like how it balances out the darkness of the series, I feel like we get enough of the silliness and that kind of humor from Isidro and Puck. I still do like their little moments. You know, when they draw on Shirka's face, and that was fun, that was funny. But again, I just don't want any more comedic characters. Like, is that too much to ask at this point? I just want us to kind of tone down Isidro and Puck a little bit and keep the lightness kind of down here. There is a time and a place. I also love the fact that we're building Farnese up to be a kind of shield. You know, she looked after Casca for a long time at this point, and she does act like a shield for her. So to have Farnese kind of level up to being a sort of shield for the ship at the time it was getting attacked was really incredible to watch. You know, we're seeing her build up this really natural character progression, seeing her usefulness like really pay off. It was a really cool moment to see. It wasn't as cool as getting a Guts flashback though to before his time in the Band of the Hawk. Oh my gosh, I will take any flashback with Guts any day of the week. I will take an entire arc of flashbacks with Guts. I really would. And I found it so interesting. It didn't last a great amount of time, but the kind of moments that we did get during those moments was so good. Like we met someone called Martino who we think saves Guts, but he was actually very clever in kind of using Guts as a sort of distraction so that he could get away. And I was so convinced as well. I even wrote my notes, Martino saves him, that's awesome. And then the next note was, okay, never mind. I love the kind of flipping of that character so quickly. And it was just like a tiny minor character really, but it kind of felt great. But what really got me was Chich. Oh my god, when Guts was in the prison cell and there was that little flower that was blooming, and you have little Chich who is connected and tied to that flower, and she ends up using it to heal Guts. And I don't fully understand what happens to her after that because she seems to have disappeared. I don't know if she ended up killing herself over like healing Guts because she like uses so much of the flower to give to Guts to heal him. But like he does end up taking the flower, and I was like, oh my god, like he promised to put her flower with all the other flowers and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my god, please tell me Chich is okay. Please tell me like she was just sleeping or something at that time, because my heart will not be able to take it if Chich isn't okay. And we only saw her for like a chapter. I'm like, oh, that was honestly such a moment. Falconia. Falconia is the name of the new kingdom that the White Hawk, or Griffith, is leading. And it looks like a utopia. It really does. And Luca's there, and I was so happy to see Luca again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. But there's just something about Falconia that really rubs me up the wrong way. It feels like a great place to live, don't get me wrong. It's protecting a lot of people, but at what cost? Something's gonna end up happening at some point in the story. Griffith sacrificed people in the past. He would do it again, I'm sure. But it just feels like this closed off kingdom that is acting like a safe haven is probably going to end up being something that kills them all. I feel like there's something way more to it. You don't just resurrect a bygone civilization, a bygone kingdom for it to like continuously thrive for the rest of time. I don't know, that something stinks. Something stinks. And I'm a bit scared for Luca and everyone who is in this safe haven thinking that they are safe. I just feel like nothing is ever perfect. There's gonna be a catch. But oh my gosh, Rickard. Can we talk about Rickard for a second? Because Rickard is becoming my MVP. He is becoming such an incredible character. Like, the way that he slaps Griffith, I wasn't sure what he was going to do when he reunited with Griffith, especially after Guts told him what happened with the Band of the Hawk. Guts also mentioned something about you could never truly hate Griffith, but like this defiance in Griffith's face was incredible. And can we also talk about the fact that Rickard seems to be the only person who is able to strike or like hit Griffith? I feel like the way that Griffith has built himself, he's built himself on like love and adoration, and he doesn't allow kind of hatred or anything to affect him. And Rickard, you know, when Guts tells him you could never hate Griffith, I wonder if maybe because it was kind of unexpected for someone to not hate Griffith to strike him, you know? It almost feels like a kind of defense thing that will go against Guts. And it does end up going against Guts at the end of this chapter, the end of this arc. So yeah, I just found that so interesting, but I just fucking love the fact that Rickard slapped him. I was like, that was epic, but now I'm scared for Rickard. I was so scared for him. I wasn't sure whether he was going to get out alive. And I do feel like it's been a long time since we've had a main character death, or a death that's like truly affected me. And I just think Rickard needs to live, for one, because he just seems like such an important character again. I'm so glad we got that reintroduction to him, because he's just epic. He's incredible and amazing. So we get to the island with Guts and the gang, and I love the fact that we had all of these like kind of scarecrows, and even this moment with these stones that, you know, when you're going through, if you don't really belong on the island, you kind of just end up coming back on yourself. Like, you can't really get through the stones. But all these tests, Puck does end up getting everyone through, so he does have his uses. But I like that. I like the Village of Mages. I love the whole design of Elfhelm and all of the ways that that was beautifully illustrated. It looked absolutely gorgeous, and it really does give you that safe feeling. I think one of the things why, okay, I just spoiler alert, I didn't fully love this arc itself. It's probably my second least favorite arc so far, but I do feel like it was important to give us that false sense of security, to make us feel safe, at least for a time, to recuperate for what's to come, because we do need moments to breathe. And that's what Elfhelm felt like. It felt like a breather. A beautiful, beautiful place. We were just chilling, hanging out, being friends. Well, I won't say boring, because I don't think Berserk is ever boring, but it did kind of lull me for a bit. I think the highlight of this arc for me, my favorite moment of this arc, was the Corridor of Dreams. Shirka and Farnes going into Casca's mind, that whole bit. At first, when we go through too, the illustration style was very childlike, and that was incredible, because it really does show you Casca's state of mind right now. When we go through so much trauma and PTSD, sometimes we do revert back to a childlike state, and I think this is what Muira, honestly, I feel like this is probably, this whole entire section is one of the pinnacles of Miura's greatness, because I do think that he shows PTSD and trauma in such a beautiful way, in such a touching way, and something that I think is so vital to Casca's own mental health and mental well-being. And to see that depicted, it's one of the most beautiful depictions I've ever seen of the exploration of like PTSD and trauma. The symbolism within Casca's kind of Corridor Dreams too was incredible. We have her sort of doll all fractured and broken up and scattered around, but her main body is in this casket that's being dragged by Guts, but Guts as a dog. And if I remember, Casca did used to call him a sort of mad dog when they used to be comrades in the Band of the Hawk. So it was like really fitting that Guts would be the one shouldering and carrying Casca in her casket, Casca's casket, being the one to try to defend her from the monsters in her mind, but still not being able to put the pieces back together again. And that's where Shirka and Farnes come into it, because their goal of putting all the pieces together was so interesting to watch. The whole thing was gorgeously, gorgeously illustrated, collecting the fragments of memory. Oh my gosh, like the more pieces that were getting put together, the more I felt myself being restored too. I have been waiting for this moment for so long. Not as long as you guys have, who have been reading Berserk week to week for years, but it just felt like this was, huge. It felt huge to me, despite the length of time I've been reading Berserk. But slowly restoring Casca was so beautiful. And I know the last piece was like her heart wrapped in this sort of black vine thing, which indicates that, and again, this is so beautiful, that she is not over what's happened. And it's not just an easy fix either. You can't just fix trauma. You can't just fix what you went through when, you know, you go through something like Casca did. I love that Miura didn't make this a magical solution to what she's gone through. But I was like crying by the end of this. Firstly, for Shirka, who, you know, her master Flora, she comes back to help too. Then we finally get that last piece restored. And Casca, she's back. She is back. I mean, not 100,000,000% back, but like she is talking, she is saying, she has a lot more of her memories back now. And I feel like maybe all of them, bar some from the eclipse, I think she's still keeping herself protected from that, which is something that I think we will explore later on. And honestly, I was sobbing, absolutely sobbing, when she, you know, goes outside and she goes towards Guts, but then she still can't do it. She still can't do it, and my heart broke. My heart absolutely broke, because we were so close to Casca and Guts reuniting as Casca and Guts. I wanted to feel relieved. I wanted to feel all that pressure get off my shoulders, but we still have a long way to go. And I know at the end of the arc we do have Casca getting taken away from Guts again, but like, we were so close. We were so close. I just want them back together, for the love of God. But I'm so glad that she remembered all that Furnace did for her, what Luca did for her too, which is why I think Luca might end up helping Casca. Oh, I don't want to jump ahead. I don't want to jump ahead yet. Oh my God, when Casca's fighting as well. Oh, I couldn't. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, we've got Casca back. It's Casca. She's fighting. She's using her sword. And she's incredible. And everyone's saying it. Like, even Isidro is like, oh my God, you're incredible. Like, what? Can I learn from you? Like, can you teach me? And there was like that brief moment when Casca does kind of, you know, what do you call it? Paw? No, that's not the right thing. When she does, you know, use the sword with him and stuff. Like, it just, we were getting somewhere. We were getting so close. So close. I'm so frustrated. I've been blue-balled by this whole thing. And the fact that she still can't say Guts breaks my heart, and she's tried. She tries. And the way that Guts is so selfless about it too. He keeps his distance. He knows that she still needs time. Like, is he not the most patient person ever? I need someone like Guts fighting for me. Oh God, like, I could cry again, because it just was so perfect. But like, so frustrating. Anyway, all that aside, I think it's just a huge testament to the fact that I fucking love these characters so much. I would protect them with my life if I could. So the Skull Knight is also back too. And we saw him briefly. We also got a bit more on his backstory. We also saw some different God Hands. You know, apart from the initial main one with the big brain, the God Hands look so fantastic. I always love their designs. They're really, really cool looking. One of them looks a little bit like Maleficent. I kind of like that. And again, like, we have the parallels between Skull Knight and Guts. And what the Skull Knight went through years before is really paralleling what Guts is going through now. So the whole Skull Knight and Flora thing is a mirror to Guts and Casca. But we must talk about Miura's final chapter. Oh my gosh. I as soon as I knew, because I knew that the chapter would be called Tears of Morning Dew, but I wasn't sure what the hell the chapter would actually entail. So I was just reading it, like, my heart was just in my mouth the entire time, because I was like, gosh, what a blessing. What an absolute blessing that we ever got Miura's artwork in the first place. Like, this is such... It feels like a miracle to us that we were given what we got from him while he was alive. Like, this was just such a blessing. So I was just taking in every single panel and how gorgeous and beautiful they were. His story was just out of this world. And then we get to the end of the chapter where the boy who keeps appearing every full moon, and I thought it was Casca's child, and maybe in some ways it is. I'm still so confused by it. But the child turns into Griffith. He turns into Griffith. I'm like, what? Was he Griffith the entire time? Or is this kind of still Casca's baby from what happened during the eclipse, and it's kind of just her baby grown up and he grows up to be Griffith? But like, no, that can't be true, because Griffith and Zod take Casca away to Falconia. So that is Griffith, right? Was he Griffith the entire time. I'm so confused. But like that was so shocking to me. And just the fact that that was the last, I don't know if it was like the last panel that Muira illustrated, but going from, but when I wake from the dream, all that remains is a faint sense of loneliness. That too soon fades away along with a single tear like morning dew. And like this, oh my god. It's heartbreaking, it really is. Tear rolling down Griffith's cheek, like, I don't even know what to think about this. I really don't. Like, what does this tear mean? Is Griffith remorseful? But is it even Griffith? I don't know. But then the two old fans, section 2. Oh god, I was reading that sobbing too. Just an absolute treat it was to get anything from Miura in this world. And he is immortalized forever now in his story. An incredible story of that too. I'm just like, oh. But that wasn't the end of the arc. It does continue, and I read these chapters online. Chapter 365 and 366 were very short. It felt like one chapter split into two, honestly. And, oh god, like, I will be seeing the future of Berserk now as, you know, a continuation. I do understand what's going on behind the scenes. I do know that they have Miura's instructions and, the, you know, the plans in know what the story is supposed to be, and so they're bringing that to life. Obviously, it's like not exactly the same in terms of what the illustrations are, but it's like so very close to it that it didn't pull me out the story whatsoever. It just felt different. It might just be because the chapters were so very short, like really, really short, that I just kind of got a little bit thrown back by how short they were. But also all of the moments that were happening too were just like really taking me aback. Guts not being able to land any kind of blow on Griffith the entire time, I was like, have we not progressed enough that we can affect Griffith? Guts has been on this incredible journey so far. He did come face to face with Griffith in the very first arc, and he couldn't land a blow on him then. So how do we get from the very first arc to this point now, and he still can't land a blow on him? And yet Rickard slapped him, you know? And again, that's why I think it ties into the whole hate thing. And I think, especially when Guts' reaction to seeing Griffith straight away was one of hatred, one of anger. Interesting though that the Berserker armor didn't take over at that moment. I don't know why Guts kind of prevented himself from doing that. I don't know if maybe he felt it wasn't the right time to do that, but yeah, I think Guts stops himself from really hitting Griffith when Griffith had Casca, and he could have hurt Casca himself if he had have just like went further down with his sword. So I feel like maybe he could have potentially hit him, but he doesn't land a single blow. He doesn't affect him whatsoever. At least like the sword seems to like go right through him. So maybe this whole thing is like a projection, but then why would, I don't know. But either way, this whole thing has affected Guts. This whole ordeal has affected Guts. Poor Casca has now been taken to Falconia, which is why I think Luca might actually end up helping her if she sees her, and if Casca is still in her right mind. I don't know if Casca has lost her mind again. The way that she reacted, and the way that she's seemingly so calm and collected at the end of the arc too, and she's kind of fitting in with the ladies and like having dinner and stuff like that. She seems calm and collected. So I don't really know what's going on there, but she seems to want to go back to Guts. So I think there's progress there too. But I couldn't help but thinking, was all of this for nothing? Like, we just got Casca back. There were some more steps that we had to take, sure, but like now they're so far apart from each other again. They're separated. And it breaks my heart all over again. And this is why I really do like this arc though, because even though we did have a great deal of it feeling so safe and secure, it kind of just all went tits up by the end of it. The tables turned so quickly. The fact that the island itself was, you know, disappearing, and the magical beings from this island disappears, including Isma. I felt so bad for her then, even though like I wasn't wholly amazed by her character at all or anything. But like the moment when she actually disappeared was very heartbreaking. I think that was like the first time we got a kind of loss that felt impactful in a way, at least in a long time. And honestly, everything's just went to chaos. And how much time has passed too? Because when they step onto the island, time moves differently. So like how much time has actually passed since then? So I kind of love the fact that we had a lot of hope during this arc. We did have a lot of wins in this arc, but we ended so terribly too. Like it just... it all went crumbling down, and that's what I kind of love though. I kind of love that. I kind of want the chaos and I want the darkness. So I did end up really enjoying this arc. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't my favorite. It's probably one of my least favorites so far, but it was still very good, and I Again, I just feel so overwhelmed with like grief and emotion for Kentaro Miura, who was still writing this arc. He didn't get a chance to finish it himself, but you know, everything else now feels like it's honoring him, at least to me. And I might have no authority on saying that, but just in my personal opinion, it feels like we are honoring him and allowing his story to continue and hopefully one day come to closure. So we get into the current arc, which is the Eastern Exile chapter. Even though there are only like 2 chapters out so far, it honestly feels like we are starting off really, really strong. I also think that the illustrations are looking so good too with this arc. It might be just like a little bit rough in 365, 366. At least like not as much detail as I'm kind of used to. But it feels like the 2 chapters that we got in the Eastern Exile chapter so far feel like they've kind of found their feet with it. It felt very natural and it felt great to read. But we are going to be ending this vlog, this reading journey of Berserk in quite possibly the lowest place that Guts has been in such a long time. We are ending rock bottom, essentially. Guts is now in chains. You know, they've gotten onto the ship, they've escaped the island. A lot of the magical beings are disappearing, their magic's fading. Guts is in chains. He collapses to the ground. He feels like he hasn't been able to do what he was supposed to do. He's hit rock bottom. Isidro shouting out at Guts as well, telling him to get up and fight and stand. And Guts just can't. He just can't. I feel like he himself has kind of snapped. Something snapped inside of him. And again, it feels like this journey it hasn't been for nothing. It hasn't. It hasn't been for nothing. All the friends we made along the way, the progress we made with Casca, all the lessons that I feel like Guts has learned to this point has been very useful and helpful. It's just we're feeling like we haven't made progress. And that's what's heartbreaking, because having Guts in chains is so symbolic of that. He is tied up. He is at the lowest of his lows. And that is just really heartbreaking to see. With all that progress, like literally 10 chapters ago, 11 chapters ago, we were there, you know, we were on the precipice of happiness and things being right again. At least in like a lot of the aspects of Guts' life. But then Casca's taken away, and that's like the whole world was taken away from him too. But one thing that is a sort of shining light in all of this is the fact that Rickert and Guts have now reunited. And I think now having 2 of the original Band of the Hawk members together again, one being Guts, who is so adamant on taking Griffith down, and the other one who has been, I think, the only person who's been able to strike Griffith. Having them 2 together, I just feel like we will get back on track and we will win. But I do wonder if this is now the time for Guts to confront his emotions and to move past his own trauma, because we had Casca have to do that herself in the Corridor of Dreams, getting the fragments of memory together, and she still has some way to go. I feel like now everything being stripped away from Guts in a way, or at least Casca's being stripped away from him, he may now have to confront those emotions that he is still running from. And I cannot wait to see where that takes him. So, I mean, we're off to a really good start with the Eastern Exile chapter. Glad that I can now read it whenever the chapters come out. I know there are loads of breaks for it, which is a little bit sad. But, you know, I'll take Berserk any which way it comes. And I'm excited for this new journey, this new chapter in my Berserk journey. I'll wrap up my initial thoughts on Berserk now. Then I think it's so hard because I still need to marinate on my thoughts on this entire journey that I've been on, and I feel like there are a lot of things that I would have gotten wrong in this video, so I apologize. It is really just my initial reading and gut instincts on a lot of things, so please do chat to me down below about anything and everything. Correct me when I've been wrong, tell me your kind of perceptions on things. I would honestly love to talk about Berserk and get more perspectives on it. But I would call what I've just read a masterpiece. I really would. I'm so thankful to Kentaro Miura, may he rest in peace, for giving us Berserk. I hope he was proud of the story he gave us. I hope he is proud of the legacy he has left us with too, because he was honestly an incredible man, and I honestly wish I'd read Berserk earlier when he was alive, when he was releasing these chapters himself, because I just feel like that would have been such a special moment in time. He was a genius, and I will remember him forever now. I do want to try and rank the arcs now, actually, before I wrap up. So it's really hard because I felt like every single arc was so pivotal and so monumental in their own ways. Every single arc was relevant, and oh god, I feel like I need to reread and reread and reread to get a really true sense of everything. But at the minute, I think my ranking would look like this. So Golden Age arc is definitely my favorite arc, I think, just out of anything, to be honest. It rivals some of my favorite arcs of One Piece. Conviction, I genuinely loved so much as well. Wasn't sure if I would because it was in the shadow of such a brilliant arc, but it really held its own. Millennium Falcon is probably my third favorite because I see so many incredible moments from that, some standout moments that are so important, and just such a riveting read still. Fantasia is my fourth favorite, which is, you know, I don't want to call any of these my least favorite or my second least favorite, but like my fourth favorite, I think, is the right way of saying it. It is unfinished. There are still many more chapters to go, I am sure. At the minute, it doesn't feel like it's blown me away like the previous arcs have, but we're heading in that direction, and I'm willing to give it a chance. And then my fifth favorite arc is the Black Swordsman arc, but again, I love the introductory arc. So many standout moments from that too, some of my favorite moments. What a great way to start the series. So I can't believe it took me so long to read Berserk. I apologize that I started this a year ago. It has been a year since I uploaded my first video on Berserk, but I really wanted to do it justice. I want to give a huge thank you to you all for watching this as well. Please do give it a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more manga content. I want to give a huge thank you to Kentaro Miura as well. I didn't know about Berserk until after he passed, but I hope that I can keep the memory of him alive with this video and keep his memory alive in the future as well, just on my own, when I read more Berserk, when I revisit Berserk in the future too, and just continue to love and adore the legacy that he left us. If you're still here, I appreciate you the most. You guys are the best. Berserk forever, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.